Summertime is some of the best eating in the mountains of Appalachia, especially if you make your own garden. We grow a garden every year, and it's so wonderful to be able to eat the bounty that comes out of it. And during the summer months when the garden starts coming in, that's what we eat. We eat so much of the same foods, but it's so good when it's fresh and wonderful. We do put things up. I've been canning green beans. You can see some of my green beans back there. But it is wonderful to eat some of it fresh too. So today for supper, what I'm going to make, I'm getting started. This is not supper time earlier in the day. I'm going to go ahead and get my green beans on. I have a couple of raw ones that didn't fit in the jars, and then I had one jar from a cannon that did not seal. So when that happened, I just put it in the refrigerator knowing I would eat it. So I have those beans in here too. And then I have some actually some pieces of bacon. Got some bacon in there, and I'm going to season it with salt and pepper, put some water over it, and start it cooking. As it cooks, as the beans cook, I'll continue to add water. In Appalachia, we like our beans done really well, really soft, and over that time, between the meat and then also the beans, develops this wonderful liquid, what we call pot liquor. So it just goes wonderful with your cornbread, if you have cornbread. The things I'll be cooking today are several of the things that I've already done videos about. So I will link to those videos in the description below so you can go see a more detailed explanation. So I might change my mind as the day goes on, but right now I'm thinking I'm going to make meatloaf. I'm going to make 2 pans of meatloaf so that we can have meatloaf for supper, but also so that we can have some for the next day or two so we can eat leftovers. And I'm going to make the green beans. I think I'm going to make I have some fresh corn. We don't grow corn, but farmer down the road does, one of our neighbors. So I have some fresh corn, definitely have to have that. I'm going to make some fried okra. I think I'll do fried okra today. And then also, I'm going to whip up one of Granny's little salads that she makes, like a summertime salad. And then I think I'll have some Nita green. I think I'll go out and get some Malabar spinach and make some creamed spinach. And then maybe I'll come up with something for dessert. So I hope you enjoy coming along with me today as I cook supper. This is just the first step, and then when I get to the other ones, I've got some things I need to do. I'll be sure to show you that too. May have to adjust the seasonings after it cooks for a while because so much of the water does cook out. But for now, that will be good. Okay, my green beans are smelling wonderful. Now I'm going to make up my meatloaf and go ahead and get it ready. So I have some onion chopped up in the bottom. Then I have, and again I'm making a double. I'm going to make 2 loaf pan sizes. So I've got double the meat I would normally use. And then I'm going to add 2 eggs. I'm going to add those. I'm going to add, again, I'm making a double recipe, so if you were making one, you would need just 1 egg. And then I'm going to add seasonings, just salt and pepper for two recipes, or two runs of it. I have some bread, 2 slices of bread. It's funny, everyone has their favorite meatloaf recipe, and they are so varied, and some of them sound so wonderful. The one I grew up eating wasn't one that I really cared for, but I tried 2 or 3 different recipes after I was married, and I have one cookbook that was Granny's actually, and I tried the meatloaf in it, and that's the meatloaf that I make all these years later. I still make it. It was just my favorite one. A lot of people love to put peppers, like green peppers, in theirs. I was never crazy about that for some reason. And like I said, there's just such a variety of meatloaf recipes out there, but this is just the one that I ended up liking best. But I know there's lots of good ones out there. This one, I've never tried it, but the recipe says actually freezes very well before you cook it or afterwards. I've never tried any of those because we just eat it up. Okay, now I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup or 1/4 of a can of my tomato sauce here. Save the rest of that for the topping, and then you can use a spoon or whatever you want to, but I just start using my hands to start mixing it all together. I like to line my pans with foil to make easier cleanup. If you don't want to use foil, you could use parchment paper. That would work good too. So now I'm just going to divide my mixture into the 2 pans. Okay, now I'm going to wash my hands up and then I'll do the topping. I'm going to use the rest of the tomato sauce. This is a mixture of, I've just mixed it together, but brown sugar, Worcestershire sauce, and mustard. And vinegar. Did I say vinegar? It's got vinegar too. Now that I've got that all out, I like to just, of course you want to put it all over the top, but I like to kind of go down in the edges of the pan, let it seep down in there. And then I even do 1 or 2 little chops on top. Now when I'm ready to bake it, which will still be just a little bit before I bake it, I'll bake it at 350 for an hour and 15 minutes or till done. That when it's been baking an hour, I like to kind of, sometimes depending on your meat, depending on what cut of ground beef you use, what ratio from lean to fat you use, you may have some excess fat pond up. So I like to pour that out. I pour that out and discard it and then put them back in the oven for that last 15 minutes. I forgot there was one other thing I wanted to do when I was getting the meatloaf ready, which was to go ahead and make my little salad. Granny made this salad as long as I can remember when I was growing up, every summer, all the time. One time I asked her after I was grown and making it myself, I said, who did you learn how to make this from? And she said, well, it's a funny story, I'll tell you. She said, I learned to make it from Aunt Dot. That was one of Granny's sisters. She was one of Granny's oldest sisters, and she would go stay with her in the summertime and help her with her kids and just to, have somewhere to go visit. She lived in Gastonia by the time Granny was old enough to go visit. And she said, Dot served it all the time, and I just loved it. And she said one day I asked her where she learned how to make it, and she said, why, I learned how to make it from Mama. Don't she make it for you, young's at home anymore? And Granny said, no, she don't. So for whatever reason, she'd quit making it at that time. Maybe she started later on making it again. Granny couldn't remember that. But anyway, that's where Granny learned how to make it, and she made it every summer. Now, there's all kinds of variations on it. Hers is very simple, and that's how I do mine. It's just cucumbers straight from the garden, and the amounts just depend on your personal preference, if you like a lot of cucumbers or if you don't like a lot of cucumbers. Some onion, again, personal preference on how much onion you like or don't like, and then tomatoes. Along with that, just some seasoning, salt and pepper. Every once in a while I will add just a sprinkle of sugar to kind of offset the acid in the tomatoes, but I don't always do that, and Granny never did that for sure. So I thought it was interesting, on one of my videos someone was surprised recently that we didn't peel the tomato. I don't never peel tomatoes, so, which is again just personal preference. I just thought that was interesting that they were surprised that I did not peel them, but we just eat them. Eat skin and all like this. If I was cooking them like to make a sauce or something, of course I would, but to just eat like this or in a on a sandwich, for tomato sandwich out of the garden, that's so good. I would not cut them. I would not skin them. Cut this one. tomato. These little, if you've never used one of these, this is a Rada knife, and it's a tomato knife. It just works the best for tomatoes, and also really good for peaches too. You can find them different stores and locations, but you can also find them online. Years ago, they sponsored some of my posts on Blind Pig and the Acorn, and I've literally been using, there's a few things that they let me try, and then also give me one to give away, and this is one of them that I've been using ever since. Another one is my whisk, a little funny whisk that you might see me use sometimes. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these just to use it up. And I'm going to season with salt and pepper to taste and put it in the refrigerator until we're ready to eat. And as Matt would say, let it marry together. A lot of people will add some vinegar, so if you could certainly do that, you could add olive oil, whatever you wanted to add. But we just keep it simple like this, and it offers such a brightness to whatever you're eating. It just, I don't know, somehow this little salad makes the fresh corn and the okra or the squash or whatever, makes it, and cornbread, makes it all, green beans, all those fresh garden things, just somehow makes them taste even better. So I decided I want to make some blackberry dumplings for supper, for our dessert. We've got some ice cream, so that'll be really good. So I've got probably about a quart of blackberries. I didn't really measure, but I'd say that's about a quart from our yard. Our blackberries have been really good this year. We have tame blackberries, and then we have wild ones all around the yard, so that's kind of a mixture of both. And then I have about a cup of sugar that I'm going to put in there with them, and I'm going to let them kind of cook and get a little thick, and then I'll add my dumplings. So it's getting close to supper time, so I've come out to harvest my Malabar spinach. You can see I've got a tomato plant growing out of the bounds there. I'm going to try to get it back. I need to bring me a clip. Put it in there. Go. So the Malabar spinach is grown all the way to the top, kind of meeting in the top, but I'm just going to harvest from right here. If you've never grown Malabar spinach, I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I will always grow after trying it a couple of years ago. And actually, all this, you can see it's behind me too, all this that is growing is all volunteer. It just reseeded itself, so I guess I would have it whether I wanted it or not. As the leaves get older, they do get, you can feel the difference. They do get thicker, but I still think they're good. Now it does have like a kind of a mouthfeel kind of similar to okra, so you may not care for that, but I really like it. We do. We eat it raw, and we harvest it to cook too. It's a really pretty plant, besides being tasty. There's a bug on that one. You can see the red vines, and then when it doesn't actually ever bloom, but these little blooms will turn into the seeds, and that's what drops off and reseeds itself, or you could save them if you wanted to grow it somewhere else. Another great thing about Malabar spinach is that it loves the heat. This is July, and you can see how beautiful and vibrant it looks. The heat doesn't affect it like it does, say, lettuces or other type of greens, maybe kale or something like that. So, or a spinach even. So it just really keeps going even though it's hot. Okay, I think that's probably more than enough. So on my way back in, I'm going to stop and shuck my corn. I don't know if you're like me, but I have a place that I always shuck corn in the same place. And you can see I have a pile going right there of corn shucks. So I'm going to do that right quick before I go back in and finish supper. I'm getting my cornbread ready. I'm going to go ahead and put my pan in the oven and let it heat up. We're about out of milk, so I'm going to use evaporated milk for my cornbread. Go ahead and add my egg. That way I'll be ready to go as soon as it comes out of the oven. And while I'm waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up my okra. I've already washed the okra when I harvested it, so I don't need to worry about that. This is Gene Orange. It's my favorite okra to grow. When it comes to what size you want to make your fried okra, that's just totally up to you. It's also up to you whether or not you want to leave the ends or not. Some people say, well, why wouldn't you? And then other people like Granny would say, why would you? So that's just up to you too. Those greener pieces of okra is called Silver Queen. Katie got me that seed. I tried to grow it last year and it didn't really do anything. And so this year I have been growing it, and I don't know. The jury's still out. I definitely don't like it as good as I do the Gene Orange. But maybe I need to give it a little bit more of a chance than just this one year. Pan's hot, so I'm going to mix up my batter. So to bread my okra, I do it very simply. I salt and pepper to taste. Matt likes lots of pepper, me not so much. Then I toss it with cornmeal. You can also put it in a bag, works especially well to shake it around. And some people dip theirs in, you know, milk or egg or a combination of both, but I just use straight cornmeal. Okay, I think we're hot enough. Put it in there. I like to use a slotted spoon. Helps get rid of the excess cornmeal, but also keeps you from getting burned. So now the okra's been cooking about 5 minutes. It's hard to flip, but I just do my best. Flip it over. And then I'm going to let it cook for about 5 more minutes. And then what I like to do is, see, my oven is really hot because I just got the cornbread out. And then I like to pop it in the oven, and that way it finishes in there. Put it in there another, I don't know, you got to watch it, but about another 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. Okay, the okra's getting really brown, so it's not been hardly 5 minutes. It's probably been about 3, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the oven now. Okay, the butter has melted. Now I'm going to put the spinach in. Probably be some popping and hissing. Maybe not too bad. I'm going to season with salt and pepper. And just let it wilt down. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more butter, and then I'm going to add some heavy cream. So this is a creamed spinach, and it's just really up to you how much you add. And then I'll kind of let that reduce a little bit, and then it'll be ready to eat. Matt's doing the corn for me out on the porch. We have a stove out there, so that's really helpful. Like a propane burner that we can on and cook on sometimes. So he's doing that out there. We found we love what we call roasiniers, what Appalachians would call roasiniers. We love that. It's boiled corn. And we found for us, everybody has a different preference, of course, but we get the water boiling, and then we drop the corn in for 3 minutes, and that's just the perfect doneness for us. Some people, of course, like it more done than that, and that's okay too. And then when it comes to eating it, Matt loves to eat his on the cob, and I always ate mine on the cob growing up like that until I had braces, and then I couldn't do that anymore. And then somehow after I got my braces off, I could never go back to eating it straight off the cob, so I cut mine off. I do like it like that though. I love the taste of it, but I just prefer it. I would boil it and then I'll slice mine off, but Matt eats his like I used to eat mine before I had braces. So we're about ready to eat. This is going to be a feast. Okay, we're about to eat, so now I'm going to drop my dumplings into my blackberries. And I did taste them, and I went back and added another half a cup of sugar just because my wild ones were so tart. So, and I did add a little bit more water to make sure that the dumplings don't just totally cook up. And then I'll just put the lid on these and let them simmer while we're eating supper. And then by the time we're done, the dumplings will be ready. Look like a feast?
Gosh, yeah.
Best eating of the year out of the garden, huh?
Absolutely. Especially after a long day of fishing.
Yeah, Matt's wore out from tramping through the woods fishing with Katie. You've been from one end of the county to the other. Well, actually into another county.
Yeah.
Come on. Wonderful pot liquor, huh?
Gosh, yeah. I may have to call in sick. I won't be able to work after eating all this. You reckon?
I don't know. The greens really cook up when you cook them. You don't have near as much as what you thought, but Katie won't eat them. It's just me and Matt and Katie tonight, so there'll be plenty for me and Matt. Did I tell you got blackberry dumplings for dessert with ice cream? You better save room for that.
Yeah, you better call the ambulance. Because it's about to get tragic.
Ready to eat?
I'm hungry.
Tramping through the woods makes you tired?
It does, yeah. You got a knife?
Yeah.
Butter knife?
A what knife?
Case knife.
A case knife, not a butter knife.
Want me to cut you a piece?
Yeah, please. Oh, you already got a fork.
No, I got two. I got one.
Okay, I ended up with
Just
two.
so good. Here you go. You bring your plate over here.
That's okay. Do it in pieces. Thank you.
Oh my lord.
It's all right. Thank you.
Here, I got one more piece. One more piece that goes
One
with
more.
it.
All right, go give me all of it. You want okra?
No,
No.
I don't eat okra.
Oh my
Okra,
goodness,
yeah,
what's
okra.
wrong with you?
Just don't like it. Never have. Now, if I was hungry, I wouldn't turn my nose up at it.
No, I guess you would. some salad?
I just only want the onions out of it. I'll pick them out later, don't worry.
Okay.
There you go. That's good, thank you. I'll get some corn.
We'll be ready.
And I'll be ready. Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome. This is a feast. Kind of overdone it, didn't I?
No.
It's hard not to overdo it though, this time of the year when everything's just so good and you just want to cook so much, or I do. It's just all so good. I barely have room on my plate though.
I want milk for mine.
Okay.
I need to get another gallon of milk.
I didn't do a very good job of silking the corn.
I'll be fine. Mama strings build character.
Yeah.
Once again, if I was hungry, I wouldn't care. And I am hungry, so I don't care. Thanks, Mama.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you.
You're nice. You cook for us. We get done eating, I'll do the dishes.
Okay, deal. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I cooked this summertime supper for my family. I hope, as always, you'll continue to drop back by often and help me celebrate Appalachia, which is a lot about the wonderful foodways of the region. Okay, was it good?
Absolutely extra good.
Okay, so now we're ready for a dumpling. Gotta get you some of the blackberries to go with it.
That looks really good.
You have a scoop of ice cream to go with it.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Okay, there you go.
Very
I'm
nice.
almost ashamed to eat that. That's so good.